All right, today we are diving into one of the most high-stakes rivalries in history. It's a story about a queen, a king, and, believe it or not, a single audacious act of piracy that would put two of Europe's biggest powers on a direct path to war.
So let's meet the two players at the center of this storm. On one side of the board, you've got Queen Elizabeth I of England. She's a Protestant ruler, and her throne is, frankly, a little shaky. And on the other side, King Philip II of Spain. He's a devout Catholic, and he commands a massive global empire. You can already see it wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a clash of entire worldviews. They were basically set on a collision course from the get-go. But, their relationship didn't actually start out with all this hostility. In fact, Philip had been married to Elizabeth's half-sister, Mary. So when Mary died, he proposed to Elizabeth, probably hoping to keep England under his influence. Her rejection? Well, it wasn't just personal. It was a huge political statement. It said loud and clear that England was going to forge its own path. That single no really set the defiant tone for everything that came next.
Okay, so the first real flashpoint doesn't even happen in England or Spain. It happens in the Netherlands. Now, this was a super wealthy and strategically vital territory ruled by Philip, and it was right here that all that simmering tension was about to boil over.
So what sparked the rebellion? Well, it was Philip's attempt to impose absolute control. He messed with their government, and most terrifyingly, he unleashed the Spanish Inquisition. This was a brutal institution designed to crush anyone who wasn't a strict Catholic. But this move, it backfired spectacularly. It managed to do the impossible. It actually united both Dutch Catholics and Protestants against their Spanish king. When the Dutch revolted in 1566, Philip's response was, as you might expect, swift and absolutely brutal. As you can see here, by 1567, he sends in his top general, the ruthless Duke of Alba, with a huge army. And by 1568, the revolt is crushed. Alba set up something called the Council of Troubles, but everyone just called it the Council of Blood. It condemned thousands to death and basically terrorized the whole region into submission.
And this shows you the brand new, terrifying reality for England. All of a sudden, a battle-hardened Catholic army of 10,000 men, which was an enormous force for the time, was permanently stationed right on their doorstep. This wasn't some distant problem anymore. For Elizabeth, this was an existential threat, just a quick trip across the sea. So you have to put yourself in Elizabeth's shoes. This put her in an absolutely impossible position. She was under a ton of pressure to help the Dutch Protestants. But how do you confront a superpower like Spain without kicking off a disastrous war that England was almost certain to lose? This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of her problem. She couldn't just declare herself the champion of Protestantism. That would be like inviting a Catholic crusade right to her shores. But she also couldn't just stand by and watch the Dutch get crushed. She had to find a third way, a strategy of indirect confrontation. Her first move was a total masterclass in what we'd call plausible deniability. Publicly, she condemned the Dutch rebels. But quietly, she let their privateer ships, these guys were known as the sea beggars, use English ports. What did that mean? Well, it meant they could rest, resupply, and then head right back out to attack Spanish ships in the Channel, all with Elizabeth's unspoken approval. Now, this policy of quiet support is what led Elizabeth to her most audacious move yet. She decided to hit Philip II where it would hurt the most, his wallet. This was a super high-stakes financial gamble aimed right at the heart of Spain's war machine. Okay, this whole thing played out like a heist movie. Seriously. So step 1. In 1568, the sea beggars chased down some Spanish ships. But these weren't just any ships. They were carrying a huge loan of gold to pay Alba's army. Step 2. The Spanish ships panic and duck into English harbors for safety. And step 3, Elizabeth seizes the whole lot. Her excuse was a stroke of genius. She claimed the gold wasn't technically Spanish property yet because it was still a loan from Genoese bankers. So she argued she wasn't stealing from Spain, she was just taking over the loan herself. Her goal here was brilliant in its simplicity. An army that doesn't get paid is an army that doesn't fight. By grabbing their wages, she hoped to cripple Alba's whole campaign, maybe even cause his unpaid soldiers to mutiny, and force Spain to pull out of the Netherlands. And the best part? She did it all without a single English soldier firing a single shot. But come on, this was a massive provocation, and Philip II was absolutely infuriated.
The consequences were immediate, and suddenly the conflict wasn't just some distant problem in the Netherlands anymore. The threat was now right there, on English soil. And this is where everything just exploded, creating the most dangerous moment of Elizabeth's entire reign. Right as she sees the gold, her Catholic rival, Mary Queen of Scots, shows up in England, becoming this living, breathing symbol for rebellion. That directly sparked the revolt of the Northern Earls, a huge Catholic uprising. And what was their master plan? It all relied on one thing: getting backup from the Duke of Alba's army, waiting just across the channel. So in the end, Elizabeth's incredibly bold gambit actually worked. It threw Alba's plans into total chaos, and it bought her precious time. But in winning that round, she crossed a line. There was no going back. The Cold War had officially turned hot. The two nations were now on a collision course, and the next stop on that track was the legendary Spanish Armada.